Without wasting your time, we are going to share top 5 best receipt printers. The product links are in the description and in first comment. The number 5 on the list is Mumban receipt printer. Mumban receipt printer. I ordered this because I had originally purchased one of their Bluetooth ones, but the DPI was so low that the print quality was just awful. I had no issues with setting that one up and getting it to print, but this one has given me many problems when trying to set it up. I'm quite good with computers, but I've been trying to set this up for like 26 hours now with no luck. I also have not been able to find any helpful information online. Another concerning thing is that I researched this exact model number online and it was said to have a DPI that was twice that of my original printer, but when I opened the printer up in Windows, it looked as if the DPI was identical. I have noticed in the settings that there are many more options on this one, so it's possible that it will still produce better quality if I ever get it working. This is a pretty solid thermal receipt printer. The shipping was fast, it was nicely packaged with setup instructions with links to videos from the seller as well as cables, USB to be in serial. No Ethernet cord though. The reason it's not a 5-star review is the auto cut feature isn't currently working, waiting for the seller to get back and resolve the issue, otherwise the setup is pretty much plug and play. Using the USB-A to B method of connection is definitely the quickest, the LAN requiring more effort, the LAN requires some setup and configuring, but the videos walk you through it. We have bought 2 of these printers in the past 6 months. First one was super easy to install on our Windows computer. The second was a little more of an effort, it needed to be installed on a Mac. This may have taken an extra day, but once customer service gave me the online instructions it was super easy. BTW customer service got a hold of me the next day via email and it was over the weekend. We are very pleased with the Mumban printer and if we need any more these will be our go-to. Thank you. The number 4 on the list is Polono receipt printer. Polono receipt printer. Setting up the printer at home was simple. To download the driver, use a link in the manual. The setup took seconds. I was initially astonished to see that the printer had a beeping alarm that doesn't stop until you take out the receipt. But you can disable the alarm in the settings. The auto cut function is excellent and produces precise cuts. Saves a lot of time because you don't have to rip the receipt out by hand. The printing process is quite quick and the results are clear. Quick shipping and good packaging as well. The best things I can say about this printer is that the print quality and printing speed is very good. The unit seems to be manufactured well as it feels solid and durable. The ease of installation using their software combined with their YouTube videos that they encourage you to use is fair. I bought this model for the Ethernet connection as I wanted to be able to print to it from different PC stations over the network. The video instructions for setting up the IP connections seemed to be missing a small but very important step which I eventually found out in my communication with their support tech over email. They offer support via email, phone or Skype, but don't even think about trying to contact them via phone because the only phone number they list is in China. Anyhow, after I finally got it connected to the network, the receipts would print from my POS system, but the margin was shifted about a ½ inch too far to the right. The printer's software utility has offset adjustments for the X and Y axis, but they only allow you to adjust the offset in one direction. In other words, I can only enter positive values for pushing the offset either to the right or downward, but I cannot shift it left or upward with a negative value. I contacted tech support about this and got no reply. They were quick to respond with help for the initial installation, but not after I asked about the offset issue. Beware. The number 3 on the list is Geinsha Classic Desktop. Geinsha Classic Desktop. I bought this printer specifically because the description said it had an auto cutter. The only cutting this does is when you tear the paper against the serrated edge of the printing slot, which is the exact opposite of an auto cutter. Debating returning the product, but the price was pretty good. Seller reached out a couple weeks after this review and edited the title to remove the non-existent auto cutter feature. I was still sold a product under false information, so my score doesn't change, but maybe this is indicative of their support approach, so I would buy from them in the future and hope their descriptions are accurate. This is such a crappy printer, I just don't know where to start. It no longer comes with a mini disc, it now comes with a flash drive which was no good. No drivers online anywhere. What manufacturer nowadays does not have a website with the drivers? What are they hiding? It's safe to assume there will never be any patches or updates. This printer uses the same generic thermal printer motherboard as many of these other inexpensive Chinese printers. I tried drivers I found for other such printers, but none of them worked because the USB vid PID doesn't match. Also tried Epson-esque POS drives which this supposedly emulates, but they didn't work either. Windows did not automatically recognize it when I plugged it in, and nowadays Windows is pretty good about recognizing nearly everything USB. This printer can work with any operating system, and this is why it is one of the best out there. The description says it does not work with iOS iPad, but it actually does work if you use the network connection and connect to it using IP address. The only issue is that you would need a tech-savvy person that is able to set up the connections properly. The other issue is you are not a. The number 2 on the list is thermal receipt printer. Thermal receipt printer. I got this for doing labels one at a time as needed instead of feeding a whole sheet through the laser printer. So I bought some 58mm 2/1/4 labels. They would not fit. The actual labels themselves are 2/1/4 and the wax carrier sheet extends out slightly on each side. And I mean just slightly. And yet that was enough that the roll went in really snug and dragged on the sides, there is no extra clearance. So this printer is useless for labels. The bay for the roll needs an extra millimeter or two. And on the same note, it will not accept a very big roll. In fact, I could not find any for sale anywhere on Amazon from any seller that will fit. You have to spool a bunch of it off first to get it in the printer and be able to close the lid. You must close the lid since that's where the feed roller is. There is actually a large gap under the printer. They could have made a bigger bay very easily. This printer is definitely going back to Amazon. Now if only I could back the entire day I wasted trying to make it work. Overall it works. If you are looking for something cheap you can't really seem to go wrong. Certain aspects of the protocol don't seem well implemented, but overall it does a little detract from the functionality. However, the biggest flaw is in the font sizes. In the smaller font the dollar symbol gets replaced by and there is no fixing this as far as I can tell without manually going into graphic mode. Email tech support never responded. During our receipt printer research, we found 457 receipt printer products and shortlisted 19 quality products. We collected and analyzed 9,280 customer reviews through our big data system to write the receipt printers list. We found that most customers choose receipt printers with an average price of the receipt printers are available for purchase. We have researched hundreds of brands and picked the top brands of receipt printers, including Star Micronix, Epson, Wrongto Geinsha. The seller of top 1 product has received honest feedback from 68 consumers with an average rating of 4.8. The number 1 on the list is Wrongto POS printer. Wrongto POS printer, it comes with a USB thumb drive for the installation as well as a CD for installation of the drivers. It prints pretty well, it was just a little confusing to set up at first. Make sure the printer is plugged into your computer when downloading the drivers or else it gets very confusing when setting up the installation. One thing I dislike is there is no software included to print your receipts, so you have to have a POS system or buy like a receipt software. I guess it's just hard to get the size of paper you want on the computer. It costs between 5 and 10 cents on average to print a paper receipt. While that may seem like a negligible expense, it adds up. Retailers in the United States spent over $312 million on paper receipts in 2019. Thermal printers, the most common receipts are printed by direct contact between the thermal head and thermal paper with the use of heat. Therefore, no ink is required. This type of printer prints quickly and quietly as well as maintains a high quality of the receipts. The best thermal printers: 1. Barcode printer, 203 dpi.2, Seban POS, thermal printer with auto, CUTTER3, Pegasus 3-inch 4, F2C thermal, receipt printer. 5, Wizards printer 58mm 6, Atpos Bluetooth TechLeads BIS 58mm.